say because you're part of that. But that was the intelligence of them to come up with things to sell newspapers and things like that. Yeah, they labeled me that. But I'm sure that was fed to them by the district attorney's office, by the liaison there too. You know, because they wanted to juice it up. I know they were talking to the cops and everything else too, and they, you know.
Need you to speak up, Tony.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, you didn't consider yourself a pimp, though, even though you're in the escort service business. Obviously, you are selling prostitution, aren't you?
Yeah, but I'm still not a pimp. Okay, I was more of an agent. Okay, a pimp. All right, I didn't go down to the Port Authority and wait for the buses to come in and coerce little girls, okay, to work for me and come home with me. Okay, I didn't have a stable. I didn't sleep with 30 or 40 of these girls. I didn't even know half of these girls. All right, that's even not. I didn't know 3/4 of these women. Okay, which was to my benefit actually. All right, not knowing them. All right, because that wasn't one that could say that I personally told her to go out and commit prostitution, which they need, as you know. All right.
Okay.
And no, I didn't consider myself a pimp. No, I didn't. I ran an escort agency. Yeah.
All right, you're making a lot of money. You're probably living a pretty good life. You're kicking some of it back to your mob associates, but eventually you come to the attention of law enforcement, or you go to law enforcement. Let me back up just a second. You had already got the attention of some federal authorities, right, in an associated business that you were running around the same time.
You lost me there, George. Come back with that.
You had another business that you were running that drew the attention of federal authorities. Am I right?
I had another business that I was running.
Yeah, the video store.
Well, yeah, okay.
Well, tell that story.
Yeah, that drew attention because that was the Secret Service, actually. What happened was I had a guy that, on video rentals at that time, you charge late charges, sometimes $3, depending on how hot the release was, sometimes $5 a day, if a guy was late. And this guy took off, and he was gone for a couple of months or 3 months or whatever. He wound up down in Colombia, and then he wound up coming back. And he wound up paying for his late charges with counterfeit money. All right? And my partner in the store at the time, who handled money all his life, didn't even know. We went to the bank with it. And that's where everything blew up there. Because, we went to deposit it was like almost $1,000 just worth counterfeit bills. If you would have went there with 2, you would have had a problem. But he went there with like 1,000 to make a deposit. And they were really good. They were like 50s and 100s. And they were really good. Even the bank didn't pick all of them up. They wound up calling the next day and saying some more were counterfeit. They found out the next day. So, and then, of course, who shows up?
Secret Service.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what'd they do?
Well, they wanted to talk. They showed up at the store, actually, at night. I had some kids working there. And the kids called me up and told me there's guys here in suits, and they got little badges. I says, yeah, what else is new? So I said, put one of them on the phone. And they said, well, we'd really like to talk to you, if you want to come down. I said, sure, I'll be right down. So I get on the phone with my shyster lawyer, and I said, listen, you're going to have to meet me there. In fact, get there 5 minutes before I do. I like that better. All right? And that happened. It worked out that way. And, they wanted to talk some more. They wanted to go, they said they had this witness, which was all total nonsense. They were trying to connect me to a counterfeiting ring, that I was a counterfeiter now, And then one little guy told me, he said, oh, we could squash this for you right now. I said, we know that you're involved with Colombians. We know you're involved in counterfeiting. We know. I says, wait a minute. I says, I don't know what you're taking, but it's definitely no good for you, I told him. So he got all pissed off and everything else. Then he tried to bluff. He says, you willing to take a lie detector? I said, sure. You willing to do this? So then they made out like they were going to set up a lie detector test. I said, fine. And at the time, they were in the World Trade Center at the time. That's where they were. And we went down there, my lawyer and myself, ready to take this lie detector. Then they decided they weren't going to do it. They came out with their tail between the legs. We're not going to do this today. We're just going to continue our investigation, like they always tell you when they ain't got nothing. just to try to. That's their way of intimidation. Yeah, okay, goodbye and good luck. Don't bother me no more. And that was the end of them.
So that was your first brush with these feds, and then later you make the decision to seek out some feds. What happened in your industry to make you essentially turn?
Well, when people try to kill you, or things like that because you don't agree with their theology, it sort of, leaves you no other options. Same option that Sammy Gravano took. He was put out in the cold, and he checked his options and did what he had to do. It's a matter of, it was a matter of survival. But actually, it was more than that because they were, at that time they wanted to bring in, there was a new regime now. Things are changing now. You got to remember, early mid '80s, Castellano hit, regimes are being overthrown, new blood is coming in, and it happened that way all the way around. And these guys did not have the same principles as the old timers had, or the old guys that knew what they were doing, They didn't even have the brains. All they had was greed. That's all they saw was greed. They didn't understand what certain consequences that, yeah, fine, you might be making a lot of money now, okay, but you got to take the long view. You got to take the future view of things, And they didn't care about that, They didn't care who fall, it didn't matter, As long as they were lining their pockets, double or triple. To me, it was better to take a little piece and grind it out over years and not be noticed than to, go out there full blast, don't give a damn, and, take what you can get, and then that's it. When it ends, it ends, If it ends next week, fine. Their mentality was not up to mine. And one of the things they were doing was, they wanted, which I was against, is they sort of wanted to have like a slavery thing going on. I mean, they had a guy in the Dominican Republic. In fact, the guy was a government official down there. And they would get girls. They had a way to get girls into the country. They would stay for 3 months, and then you'd have to send them back, and they'd send new girls up. Then they got involved with a guy from Coney Island Avenue, a Russian guy who was, when after 1991, when the wall came down and everything too, you had a lot of the officials from Russia, KGB and whatnot. They came over here and they became criminals. Is what they did, really. That's pretty much what happened. And, because they would have stayed there, they would have got killed. So anyway, they got involved with, they made a connection with this Russian guy, and he had a connection how he could bring in girls from, Estonia, Latvia, all these former Soviet bloc countries, and, keep them scared and force them into a life of prostitution and this and that. See, I didn't believe in that because I didn't force anybody. All right, I put my ads in adult publications, and these women, these girls, they came to me. All right, I didn't force anybody. I knew exactly what they were getting into when they came, and it was fine. So, and then guys I was with were trying to convince me to go that way, and I said that's the wrong way to go. I said I don't want to do that. I don't want to force anybody. I don't want to do anything like that. First of all, and it's going to lead and. Put this in your hat, it's going to lead to some repercussions. All right? All right? That's why I never used underage girls. We always checked their ID and everything else. No, I didn't want to go that route. This is stuff that you're dabbling in that's only going to get you a big problem down the road. And plus, to me, I guess I had too many little conscious midgets running around in my head because I didn't really like the idea of forcing somebody into something. That, to me, is like, like chaining somebody to the wall, and I just couldn't go with it,
So there had been changes within the mob family that you were associated with, and then there were changes on the outside in the escort service business, other people, other rivals. So somebody tries to kill you at some point?
Yeah, they tried to run me off the road in Sloatsburg, New York, yeah. Yeah, they knew I was going up to see a friend of mine who was in a can, and, they sort of followed me. They found me on a nice little road over there. On the side of the road, it was like, if you're familiar with upstate New York, it's a little mountainous, not like like the mountains you find out in Utah or anything. But